YouTube, it's Lena, and we have a guest. She really wants to be in my lap right now, even though I'm sitting at a computer where it's very awkward to have her in my lap. But she does not care. So we have a co-host tonight. Anyways, what we are doing today is doing the Drugstore Starter Kit tag video, whatever it's called. For the record, these are all things that I would buy for somebody with my skin type. I'm very pale, I'm very oily, and I live in a very hot, humid environment, or at least hot and humid about 8 months out of the year. So definitely take that into consideration with my recommendations, but if you have some similar skin issues that I do, this is what I would buy for you and what I would buy for somebody else. Now, I did not include brushes in this. I don't know why, I forgot. But e.l.f. brushes are great. Like, their basic $1 and $3 lines are awesome. Real Techniques is really nice for drugstore brushes. And yeah, anything out of either one of those will probably do you some good and is not hella expensive. So first, I started with primer. I have two of a lot of these picked out that, you know. But first one, I will insert a picture of it, but it is the Rimmel Stay Matte. I love that primer. I kind of wish I had it, but I have a lot of stuff to pan before I go picking out new primers. The other one I grabbed is the Black Radiance True Complexion Shine Control Primer. And it does what it says it does. It's pretty good at shine control. One of the reasons why I picked two for this one is that Black Radiance is kind of a pain in the butt to find in certain places. A lot of areas around me carry it, but I know not everybody can find it really easily. So I gave two options. Next is foundation, and I did pick some that have some decent shade ranges because I did want to keep that in mind, but I do really like both of these foundations. And I either would repurchase, or one is actually already a repurchase. And that is the Rimmel Stay Matte foundation. It is a mousse foundation. I know you're thinking like, I've only ever seen 6 shades of that. Well, at my Walmart, they have 15. So I think they released a lot more shades recently. Like, they've released some lighter ones, and they've definitely released some darker ones. Mine is in 100 Ivory. And like I said, it is a moussey foundation. I actually like this both with a brush or a sponge, so just depending on if you want to sheer it out a little bit more that day, use the sponge. If you want it a little more not full coverage, I would only call this medium buildable coverage, honestly, because I've seen some full coverage foundations and that's not quite there. But if you want to, you know, keep up the coverage, go with the brush. And the other one that I think is really good, and I know not quite everybody agrees with me on this one, but I really like it. It is the Maybelline Matte and Poreless Foundation. They do carry 22 shades, and it holds up really well on at least my oily skin. I know Love Heatherette especially is who I'm thinking about with this. She really did not like it, poor thing, but you know, not everything's gonna work for everybody, but I think it's a good one to try, and it's fairly inexpensive as well. So if it doesn't work for you, you're not out too much money. Concealers, I have my e.l.f. HD Lifting Concealer. This is not a ton of shades, but I do really like it. Mine is gonna look messy because I pulled out the stopper, which is how much I like it, but it's got a doe foot applicator, and that's what it looks like on the inside. Mine is in the shade Fair. This one, e.l.f. in general needs a better shade range, honestly, but if you can find your shade in it, it's really nice. And the others that I actually have two of them, is the NYX HD Concealer. I've destroyed the packaging on mine. I think this one is also in Fair, but I actually find this to be a little bit lighter than the e.l.f. one. So if you can't, if the Fair in e.l.f. is too dark for you, try the NYX, because it is a tad lighter. And I also use their green concealer for like my cheeks, because despite my love of blush, I actually have really red cheeks. that I don't like to bleed through and change the color of my blush. I really want to try their peach shade, but I'm trying to go through a dark circle corrector right now, so I will pick that up once this is done. And before I go into powder, I did want to mention the NYX Pro Foundation Mixer. Mine is in white. This has been a lifesaver for this year so far, because 2 foundations that I finished off this year and neither one were light enough. So mine is basically empty. I just had to buy another one. Are you eating makeup off my hand? They both do that. But yeah, I love that stuff. I know not everybody does. It can make your foundation a tiny bit heavier. I don't mind it, but you know, just so you know. Powder. I brought out 2 because this one's kind of a pain in the butt to find and the color selection sucks. This is the Wet n Wild Coverall powder. This one is in the shade Light. My actual shade is Fair to Light, but I found this in stores, so I grabbed it. You can really only find this online now on Wet n Wild's website, although it sometimes pops up in like Dollar General, Family Dollar, stuff like that. And the other one I have is this e.l.f. powder. I will insert the exact name right here because I'm not exactly sure about it. But it is the one with like the bit of powder on one side and the little sponge on the other. This is a fair substitute, but I still like my Coverall better, but this is still pretty good for oily skin. Let's see. Blush. For my hella pale skin, this is what I would buy a beginner for makeup too, because it's really hard to mess this up. But mine is the Physicians Formula Butter Blush. I did depot mine because Physicians Formula's packaging is really bulky. I want to say this is in the shade Plum Rose. Now, the swatch is like garbage. But what I use is a stiff blush, and I can build up the color to get a nice kind of natural flush. And it does smell like that suntan oil thing that if you like it, you love it. If you dislike it, you hate it. But if you want something with a little more color, they have their Arganwear blushes as well that I think are really pretty. Got a little bit of glow to them and a lot more pigment. So if you want something with a little more pigment, or you want something that's a little bit pinker, there you go. The bottom blushes, they have some more colors at Walmart now that I have heard are more pigmented, but I have not tried them yet. Let's see, bronzer. We're gonna stick with a formula here. This is the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer. Mine is in light bronzer. They do have a just bronzer shade too. Now Physicians Formula in general needs to come out with more shades of everything, but this does work if you're pretty pale. And mine is a little bit cracked right now because I tried to depot it and it didn't want to come out. So I left it alone, but there it is, right there. Feels you've got to sit still. And for highlights, once again, sticking with the formula. I don't remember the exact name of this, but it's the Physicians Formula highlights in the pearl packaging. As you can see, I hit some pan on mine. And I do think that this is pretty for a relatively natural but buildable highlight. That is it right there on the bottom part of my hand. So definitely something good for more of a beginner. I think that's all I have to pull out of my palette. Yes, because next is eyebrow. And I do think the NYX Micro Brows, the little pencils that are supposed to be a dupe of the Anastasia Brow Wiz, which I've never tried, so I don't know that. I do think that they are really good if you want that really thin point on a brow. I also pulled out my e.l.f. Brow Kit. Mine is in the shade Medium. They have really light shades. Like they have a light and an ash shade that if you have really light brows or really light hair in general, they would work good for that. And they only have like one dark shade past this that I don't know would necessarily be dark enough for people. Because of the color of my hair now, I actually have to build up my brows pretty dark or else I look strange. Oh, and the NYX Control Freak Brow Gel is a really good brow gel. That I have pretty crazy brows. They will stick up in all sorts of ways. I call them crazy grandpa brows. So that actually holds them in place pretty well. Next, for a drugstore eyeshadow primer, you can get this at either Target or Ulta, because Target carries a lot of Essence products now. This is the Essence I Heart Stage eyeshadow base. I believe they have a shimmery one now as well, but this is just the matte one. You are intent on looking everything off of the back of my hands. If I don't blend this out well enough, it is a little on the dark side for me. But it blends out nicely without, you know, losing any of the make that eyeshadow stay in place ability. I have to use eyeshadow bases as well because I have really oily eyelids. And the two that I grabbed are the Maybelline Color Tattoos. They work really well for me as long as I use them as a base and not as a base and primer. This is in Barely Branded, and as you can see, it is pretty close to being gone. It is one I would repurchase if I didn't have a couple of dupes of it. And the other one is the e.l.f. Smudge Pot in Ain't That Sweet. I picked two fairly neutral colors, but I have a lot of these. And that is what that looks like. Mine is a little messed up from usage. You can actually occasionally find these at the Dollar Tree now. This is where I actually got this one. Let's see. Eyeshadow. I have a couple of things for you here. First, if you want, you know, some nice shimmery pigmented shadows, I grabbed the 8 pans from Wet n Wild. This is Petal Pusher, some pinks and purples for you. And if neutral is more your thing, you can get Comfort Zone. Yes, there's greens in there as well, but they have some nice neutrals right here. I've never tried the matte one that they have now. They used to have Blue Had Me at Hello as their third one. And I really like that one. I've actually hit pan in it, but they don't carry that one anymore. Now for your neutrals, like your neutral mattes, I actually recommend Physicians Formula. They have a couple of these quads that I've heard good things about all of them. This one is in Canyon Classics. I'll stick in a full picture of it. Because mine is pretty panned. I did just throw out the gray shadow in it because I don't have any use for a matte gray, but the two browns and the cream more than make up for one shade that personally I wouldn't use. If you don't want to get that and you just need like a cream shade, I would actually recommend the Wet n Wild Single in Creme Brulee. I would show you mine, but I finished it, so there you go. Mascara. Now this is just one that I like. And mascara is one of those things that people are really picky about from one person to the next. So this is my opinion. Let's roll with it. In my opinion, I really like the CoverGirl Supersizer mascara. This is actually my second tube of it, and it is almost dead. I admit, I think the wand is kind of wonky, but the formula more than makes up for it. You just kind of have to be careful with it. Actually, and they do carry a waterproof formula now if that is what you need. And I forgot to mention an eyeshadow base. The Jordana 12-Hour Made to Last eyeshadow sticks are really good. I cannot buy them in store anymore. They used to sell them at Walgreens, but you know what happened there. They don't sell them there anymore. And there is not a Kmart anywhere near me. And Kmarts sell Jordana's full line. Anyways, moving on. For eyeliner, I have a Rimmel product. This is the Scandalized Waterproof Kohl Kajal. Mine is in black. They carry a nude version too if you would like a nude eyeshadow pencil. But it's definitely nice and black for you. It's really creamy, but once it sets, it stays in place, which is what I need. Lip liner. I know not everybody's a lip liner person. Personally, I am. Jordana makes really good lip liners, and you can get those at Walgreens. If you want colored lip liners, those are the ones I recommend. If you want a clear lip liner, I actually recommend the Rimmel Moisture Renew Universal Transparent Lip Liner. I would swatch it, but that would be pointless. But it does kind of, if you use it to fill in your lips, it does make a pretty decent lip primer. And it does help with feathering if you choose to use it outside of your lips around like a really bad traveling gloss. Which I think all of us have at least one in our collection that's a pain in the butt like that. Lipsticks. I actually recommend these. These are the NYX Butter Lipsticks. Actually, I don't want to say the names because I bought the original release and some of the names are just wrong because they changed the names at some point. But all these colors are still available. So we have, this one I think is correct because it is Ripe Berry. And what's this? This one is Little Susie. I guess I'll go ahead and say the names of them, but you can see by the colors what they are if the names have changed. This one is my shade in Hunk. And this one is in Fireball. I know this one has a different name. I believe Hunk does too. But they are really creamy. They are pretty darn pigmented. Like, that's one swipe. And they are buildable without getting messy. And they smell really good. The unofficial theme of this Drugstore Starter Kit is apparently butter, because for glosses I picked the butter glosses. This is just the one that I had near me when I put together my stuff. I also have Cherry Pie, which is a red, but this one is in Apple Strudel. I panned one of these last year, but I had another one. I love this color for spring. Don't lick that, that's mine. And it is pretty pigmented when you spread it out, but if you really want to build it up, you can without it getting, you know, nasty and gloopy all over the place. And they also smell amazing. And finally, for setting spray, I have two recommendations if you need a matte setting spray. NYX makes a matte version of their setting spray, and Hard Candy has a matte setting spray as well if you want to. That one, it just depends on, are you at CVS or Target, or are you at Walmart? Because that would literally dictate whether I would buy one or the other. NYX is $7.99, Hard Candy is $6. Hard Candy just put out a bunch of new ones too. So like one's for pores, one's an illuminating one. They put out a whole little line of them now. So you could probably find something that works for you. Are you done eating the lipstick and lip gloss? So that's it. Thank you guys for tuning in. As always, we really appreciate it. Don't we appreciate it? You don't care, you just want to eat something. And hopefully we will see you later. Bye.